Hey you. Oh my gosh, I'm just smiling thinking about talking to you today, and well, these are the thoughts I wanted to kind of leave you with before you go to bed, and just give you something to spin around that's a little differently from what we talked about today, which really is right sacrifice, right? Feeling kind of resentful that sacrifice only leads to resentment, and why people do it and why you do it, and kind of what the gain is. But I really want to focus in on right the prosperity message of that. And the prosperity piece is really simply right that we are going to take the word sacrifice and we are going to change it in your vocabulary, right? Because changing words changes the invitation and the incantation of the language. So we're going to use language and word changes to change the word sacrifice into the word investment. And I think that'll work a lot better for you. So that's the notes. I know that you take notes when I give you these calls, but that sacrifice, we really have to reprogram it and really change the language in your everyday thought so that you can keep moving forward. And I think that you'll dig it. So I wrote down some things from our call and just some ideas that I think will help you. As you know, I'm still on work away. Right now I'm in Bellingham. I came here. I came here to see these whales. So I did get to see the whales today. So there you go. But packed up my camera, took out the ferry. It was totally great. But I made up a magical story in my head. The magical story in my head that that they would be like able, I could see them, but whales live underwater. So you just see the top of them. You just see the blowhole and whatever. So basically I have pictures of, that are terrible. But I had a wonderful day. So there's the outcome of my day is that I did get to invest an entire day to see these beautiful whales and got to see a whole new thing in general. But I'm in Bellingham, and I'm at the cutest little place here. So it's nice to be with you on this day, and whale watching is kind of a fun thing to do. So let's go back to topic of happy energy, gift energy. Lots of people are always going to ask you for things, right? You are a light. You are a light that people find alluring, that they are attracted to you. You're easy on the eyes, and you've got a personality that is generous, is thoughtful. You are a good listener. That there are a lot of skills that make people feel as though that they're safe enough to send an invitation, right? That they may need help, that you have a ton of resources. You know how to do stuff. So it makes it really easy to ask. And that part isn't going to change. But because you've taken on so much, now you're mad, or that you get resentful, and 100% of the time sacrifice in that form, which we have been taught a million ways, a million ways on sacrifice, is it's just a bad plan. And when we change it to investment, right, we really stop the anxiety of when somebody asks you for something, or the ill will, or the bad feeling that sometimes if it gives you a bad feeling as soon as somebody asks and it doesn't light you up with joy, we should look at it, because it's not going to work well for you. So when you're thinking about sacrifice or the ask of what you have to do, I would think about it as an investment, right? Because your life force energy is an expenditure. It's something that you're there to give. Are you willing to spend the energy here? Do you want to, right? Time is your property. And if people are asking you to use your time, that's your property. That's yours to either grant or to ask people to pay for. That this is your your resonance. We give with grace, right? And that's what you have to do. When you're giving in resentment, you're magnifying some stuff that you aren't going to enjoy, right? Feeling yucky and mucky is only going to make your energy dark. And it just makes all this, it just magnifies all this garbage that's not right for you. The place that is right for you is giving in grace, in that benediction, that blessing. Of course I would love to do that, right? And you also offer, oftentimes for people, comfort, sympathy, cheer, right? You are a good listener. You are willing to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And when they are needing guidance, and I get that sometimes you are concerned that I want to be there for that person, but am I really just building this codependent relationship? Well, that's a whole nother conversation of when is it that we are actually just building codependency. I don't see that in you a lot. I don't see you really doing a lot of codependent behavior. So I'm just going to take that and kind of throw it out of this call, but recognize that it exists and that it is a concern. I just don't see it a lot in you. So we'll kind of throw it to the side for now, but it can be part of the reflection of, well, what do I do about this? So when I look at sacrifice, right, it kind of has my no, naughty list, right? The no, naughty list of sacrifice is when we're giving up something so someone else can have, or we are not giving to ourselves first. There's a million ways that we sacrifice. Sometimes we sacrifice quietly, like lots of people like the martyrdom of sacrifice. Well, I didn't go out to eat for 1 year because I wanted this. And then somebody else gets that thing really easily, right? So we see a lot of people who, because they had to sacrifice, they think everyone has to sacrifice. So there's this badge that if you sacrifice, now you get this badge. Well, that's your badge. Glad you earned it, but it's not my badge, right? So when you start to look at people who are carrying these sacrifice badges, you can just recognize that that's theirs. And, wow, I'm so glad that you were able to do it that way. I'm going to do it this other way, right? So sacrifice has kind of a no, naughty list, right? We've got this piece where people wear them as badges. But it always really, it's this energetic thing that can start to build a grudge. It can start to really build cynicism. And that's where those badges come in, because that cynicism of, well, it has to be hard. You have to do it this way. You have to pay your dues. That piece of sacrifice is really cynicism, and that's what sacrifice builds, right? It robs also your passion as an investment, and it takes it into this other yucky mucky place where it is resentment, giving up, anxiety, ill will, hardship. It is lack. It is lack. It is not enough. It is, I wasn't given enough. We don't need more of not enough. And that's where we look at sacrifice. So when you look at the energy of sacrifice, it is not the same energy. It is the bipolar opposite of grace, right? Blessing, this idea of emphasizing a positive outcome. You yourself are the blessing. So when we think about that, when people are asking for something from you, the other thing I'd like to invite you to consider in emotional abundance, right, is to consider that it is that they're asking you because you are a blessing. You are that blessing, and you get to control the terms of that blessing. So we all pay to play, right? We all pay to play in this world. We're all going to pay in somehow, in some way. But you get to determine and try to control those terms of your gifts, right? That you get to control that. So when you are looking at, right, you can offer to create in the ways that you're willing to express. So a lot of times I'll tell people, hey, this is what I can do. Because people ask me for time and opinion all of the time. And I'll say to them, look, I've got 5 minutes. Can you give me your problem in 5 minutes? And so, right, I own my time. So when we start to look at that, I also have to, for myself, pay homage to the things that I'm trying to create in my life and not rob, right, the investments that I'm making into the world to take on someone else's. So sometimes I'll give people just a time piece to say, hey, can you give me your problem in 5 minutes so that I can respond to it? Is it concise? Can I grab at it? What's the outcome that you're looking for? What's the need that needs to be fulfilled? Are you just looking for a resource? Can you send it to me as a voicemail? Lots and lots of different ways. So when you're in that exchange of energy, you hold all of the investment. All of it's in your cachet. So we want to put the accent on your cadence, on your rhythm, on what it is that you have to do. Because as we know, you are a light. Things, people, ideas are going to attract to you. That's not the problem. You having drawing power isn't the problem. The problem is when you sacrifice, it builds the stuff that you don't like. It magnifies things that you don't want. So we don't want to make sacrifices for people. We really want to make investments in the things that are valuable to our friendships, to our children, to our partners, to our community projects, that we're looking to say, here's the time investment that I'm willing to do. Here's the grace I can offer you. Here is the benediction or blessing that I can put over this thing that you may need comfort on. So think about that in a different way. And so invite your magic on your limits is really what I'm saying. And, congratulations on really learning that sacrifice is kind of just not appropriate for this part of your precious life. But and then you could go back in and heal the resentments that you've already built. That's a whole nother conversation that we can also go into, is healing the resentments that you've built from that old pattern. I think if I were going to do something quick before bed, is I would just go back in and look at the resentments that from the past that you still have a grudge against, that maybe didn't go well because it wasn't really the way you're investing now. And so if we can kind of make a list of the resentments that you have, I would just set it aside. They're not there to solve this evening, but they're just there to be aware of in your journey of emotional abundance. And I would just kind of get them out of your head for the night. I think you'll feel better. And then really start looking at the types of investments that really are the privilege of yours to give, right? So that might be comfort, that might be cheer, that might be direction. Sometimes all people need from me is truly a sentence that helps them gain direction or footing. I don't have to give up anything in my life to love on you, right? So I always have plenty of time to love on you. And that may be, right, that I can do that at this time, or I can do it in this way. That's my job, is to manage the investments that I make in the world. And that is your job, is to manage the investments that you're going to make in the world. And that's also getting clear on them. So it's a lot easier to not be resentful about sacrifice when you're just investing. So that's the big deal today. It's a practice behavior, so you'll have to kind of practice it. So think about the things that people are asking from you and just practice that prosperity response, that place that really brings you to the resonance that you want. And the resonance for you personally is, right, you're an achiever. You like to have other people find their own way. And so I would think about the things that you can offer that also gives them power, that also gives them the ability to get further in their process or in their vision. So Okay, well, good night from whale watching. That it was a fun day. It was a fun day. It was a fun day. It's cold. It's cold on that water. And yes, I did get to see two whales. I'm excited about that. Humpback whales. They are mysteriously underwater most of the time. So good night, and I'm glad we had this time together.